Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, would you believe there are more nutrients packed into this little tablet than there is in an entire plate of veggies? You're going to meet the founder and CEO of ENERGYbits next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
So I try to eat kind of clean, and when I say kind of clean, yes, I have a cheat meal every now and again, but I know I'm not getting enough vegetables. And this is the truth. There are more nutrients in this little pill than there is in a pound of vegetables. To talk about that today, Catharine Arnston, she's the founder and CEO of ENERGYbits. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I couldn't help but invite you on the show. We met over Zoom a couple of weeks ago. She sent me some of these, and I have become a big fan of these. So, Catharine, before we talk about what's in the tablets, tell us your journey. How did you get here?
Yeah, well, and just for people wanting to know quickly, it's algae, concentrated algae, microalgae, spirulina and chlorella. Some of you may be familiar with spirulina, maybe not chlorella, but they are known as a superfood, and they're grown in Asia. As an agricultural crop. It's not a supplement. I know it looks like one, but it's actually no different than tomatoes or lettuce that are grown in water, and then we air dry them and then press them into these little tablets that we call bits because they're bits of nutrition. Anyways, how did I become an algae expert? I know it's kind of who becomes an algae expert, right? I'm actually Canadian, but I've lived in Boston for 33 years. And I mentioned Canada because 15 years ago, my younger sister in Canada, who I'm very close to, developed breast cancer. And she's fine now, but when she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, which is a cancer specialist, told her that she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet. Now, they didn't tell her what an alkaline diet was, but they said it was going to speed her healing. So she called me and said, what's this about? And I was doing international business, nothing to do with nutrition, but I'm a good researcher. So I got onto the internet, found out that an alkaline diet was mostly a plant-based diet because of the chlorophyll and the phytonutrients that have been proven to build your immune system. So I did some research on foods. She changed her diet. She did go through chemo. She's still cancer-free, still eating an alkaline diet, and that's 11 years cancer-free. And in the process of helping her, I started learning about plant-based nutrition. Now, this was 15 years ago. Nobody was talking about plant-based nutrition like they are now. And as I learned about the importance of plants and the chlorophyll and the nutrients, I thought, man, we got to get this knowledge out to people. So I gave up my career, went back to school, studied nutrition. And then I taught plant-based nutrition at corporations and hospitals for a year. And this is what truly led me to algae, because as I was teaching people the importance of eating more vegetables, they were giving me such pushback, saying, well, they're too heavy to carry home from the grocery store. They take too much room in my fridge. They take too long to clean, to cook, to eat. My husband won't eat them. My kids won't eat them. They spoil. I throw out everything. So I thought, okay, if I can't get people to eat more vegetables, and mothers who are listening, I know you know the pain. I'm going to find something that gives them the nutrition of vegetables without any of the work, because that was the problem, was all the heavy lifting. And I went back and looked at everything I'd found for my sister, and when I finally got to algae, that's when the miracle happened, because it's A, the most alkaline food in the world, B, it's the most nutrient-dense food in the world. We have a quote from NASA that says, 1 gram of algae has the same nutrition as 1,000 grams of fruits and vegetables, 1 to 1,000. That's because they're so tiny, so when you consolidate them, you get this amazing nutrition. 64% protein, that's 3 times the amount of protein as steak, the highest chlorophyll in the world, but it's got 25 times more chlorophyll than liquid chlorophyll, 40 vitamins and minerals. And the best part, you just have to swallow them. I just had a plate of vegetables. How I chew them, but most people swallow them. But also it's documented in science. There's 100,000 studies documenting the benefits of algae. It's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia. People here in America just don't know about it because it's not grown here, and no one's told you what it is or what it does. It's not pond scum. It is a nutritional rock star. So 13 years ago, I decided I would devote my life to helping people understand what algae is, why it makes their life so much easier. I call it nutrition insurance because it gives you everything that you need to function optimally. And right now, 60% of Americans who are adults have a chronic disease. If you are over 65, and we'll get to my age in a little bit, that it's 80% have a chronic disease. And a lot of that is because not enough nutrition to provide your body with the nourishment it needs, and too many toxins. And the algae does both of these. Spirulina is nourishing, and chlorella pulls out toxins. So we can get into some more detail about that. But that's how I got into it. I fell down the rabbit hole.
It's such a great story, and I love your passion. You can absolutely hear her heart when she talks about this. We're going to show your website, and as we scroll down the website, I just want to brag about you. I mean, it's the beautiful packaging, and
There I am.
you've worked really hard on beautiful packaging, and you've got some news with Neiman's.
Yes, we just launched in Neiman's, and I'm on a road trip right now to do the official launch across the country from Miami to LA. I'll be in Beverly Hills next week. And we were so thrilled because they are embracing wellness. We've been selling for the last 6 or 7 years only through doctors' offices, chiropractors, functional medicine. We've gotten into spas now, and now we're reaching out to specialty retailers who are embracing wellness, because wellness is where everything is. You need to nourish your brain, your body, your soul, and then that will help you live longer and better. And we are the only company in America, actually the world, with what I call a premium brand of algae, because you can go on Amazon and buy a much less expensive version, but the way they grow it and dry it is you lose a lot of the nutrients. We preserve all of the nutrients because of the way that we grow it and dry it, so that you get your full value. And in fact, algae is the secret ingredient in a lot of skincare lines. There's a very expensive line called La Mer. I think you get a little jar for $400, and their secret ingredient is algae. And I tell people, A, it's just an extract. B, why just give your skin the small amount of benefits? Give your entire body what it needs, because it nourishes you from the inside. So I say beauty's an inside job.
Absolutely. And we're going to show just a little video of an ENERGYbits video that you put together. And I want to talk about how the vegetables that we eat today are not the same as the vegetables that Grandma and Grandpa used to eat.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, the scientists are calling this the great nutrient collapse. What happened is that we've been monocropping, and so using the soil over and over and over again for the same crops, which leaches out all the minerals. So they're growing things, but the soil doesn't have the nutrients, so the crops don't have the nutrients. And also they're growing them far away, so they harvest them before all the enzymes and the nutrients get to the fruit or get to the plants, so you're not getting the full nourishment, and then they go sit in the warehouse. So we are nutrient deprived, and algae is the answer. It's effortless. There is nothing in the world more concentrated than algae. In fact, it's been endorsed by the United Nations for almost 50 years as the answer to world hunger. And they had a global conference in 1974. You can Google it. The United Nations and Spirulina, they are determined to get this to the rest of the world because it is the most eco-friendly, sustainable crop and has the highest protein in the world. So I want people in North America to start enjoying the benefits that the Asians have known about for over 50 years. And then we want to help other countries around the world also learn how to grow this and feed themselves. So I have a big mission.
Okay, a disclaimer, you never ask a woman her age, but Catherine has volunteered to share her age with us.
Yes, well, I said I'm inching towards 70. I'm actually almost 67, and I said to you earlier, no Botox, everything moves. But what happens is my skin. I always get comments on my skin, and it's because I have used this every day for 13 years. I look younger now than I did 10 years ago because your skin, just like your brain and your organs and your digestive tract, need nourishment and the nourishment is delivered by the blood. So it's far better than anything you put topically because your skin is nourished from the bottom up. So free radicals cause wrinkles, and this has more collagen in it than collagen powder. This protects your elastin, which is what the scaffolding that keeps your skin up. So ladies, not only will you be, and there's only 1 calorie per tablet, by the way, so you could have 15 or 20 of these little tablets as a meal replacement for 20 calories. Get all the nourishment you want, and you're still getting your skin feeling better. You will see a difference. It'll be smoother. There'll be fewer wrinkles. It won't happen overnight, let's face it. But I'm proof that this stuff works. It also helps. This one helps with your sleep because it has the highest tryptophan in the world, which is a precursor to melatonin that helps you sleep. But spirulina, we have 2 spirulinas because when I started the company, spirulina is a blue-green algae, and but women didn't like the packaging, and because women's health is very important to me, and I started this because of my sister. I said, okay, I'm going to make something really pretty because it builds your skin and hair. So I designed a second brand and called it ENERGYbits. So someone laughingly said, well, you've got a boy spirulina and a girl spirulina.
Let's drill down a little deeper on ENERGYbits. We've got some video that we're going to put up, and as we're putting up this video, I want to talk about, you don't have to get into a science lesson, but how does it work?
Yeah, well, it has nutrients. First of all, it has the highest concentration of nutrition, period, in the world. The highest protein, as I mentioned, 3 times the amount of steak, highest chlorophyll, 500 times more than arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll, 40 vitamins and minerals, including some nutrients that aren't found in any other food anywhere. One of them is the blue pigment in here that's called phycocyanin, and it has been proven to facilitate the killing cancer cells, facilitate helping reduce inflammation in your brain, and these are all documented scientific papers. You just wouldn't know about it because the word phycocyanin is hard to spell. It's Phycocin, but you can Google it and you will find out that it exists, and it's a pigment. It's a blue pigment, and so it has nutrients that are very healing. Also, in both of them, but particularly spirulina, is a nutrient. It's a mouthful. It's called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. And again, there's about 25,000 studies documenting how it stops inflammation of the brain, stops inflammation of your heart, it lowers blood pressure, it lowers cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. And this nutrient, SOD, the long word is superoxide dismutase, is not found in any other food. There's some in chlorella, but spirulina is the primary one. So not only is it giving you energy because of the high protein and the B vitamins, so you'll get energized mentally and physically in the moment, not only does it satisfy your hunger for 1 calorie per tablet, you could have 15 or 20, as I mentioned, for lunch, and you would have all the nourishment you need for 15 or 20 calories. But it also has these other healing properties, and also there's not a single what we call drug interaction. You can give this to your children, your pets, your teenagers, your grandparents, because it's food. And we call them bits because they're bits of food, just very tiny little concentrated bits of food.
Well, and I can vouch because I get up at 5 in the morning, and I have for the last 14 years, and I have to admit I love my caffeine. But since I met Catharine, I have switched from caffeine to these ENERGYbits, and I can tell a difference. It's kind of a smooth energy instead of like a little hype energy. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, in fact, we're very big with the intermittent fasting community, the keto community, because there are 0 carbs. And actually spirulina technically is a bacteria. It's called a cyanobacteria. And that reason why that's important is there's nothing for your body to break down to get access to all the nutrients because there's no cellulose wall. So you get this nourishment almost instantly. We fueled so many Olympic teams that we've been to the Olympic Village, Canadian and American. We fuel NHL teams. We're very, very popular with professional athletes because, again, it gives them the steady focus and the steady energy without upsetting their stomach. Sugar and carbs will upset your stomach, and when you're running a marathon, you don't want to, have some problems with your lower parts.
You were giving me an analogy, and you compared it to housekeeping. Tell that story.
Well, I do a lot of speaking at conferences, which are often held in very large hotels. And it occurred to me that, when you're staying at these big fancy hotels, you have room service, and of course housekeeping comes in. So because spirulina gives you so much nourishment that your body needs, it's sort of like room service. And because chlorella, we haven't talked much about it, but it is a detoxing wellness algae. It pulls out all heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, alcohol. It's like the cleanup crew. It's like housekeeping. So think of spirulina as room service and chlorella as housekeeping. And or the other way to think about it is, take the spirulina in the morning because that's when you want energy and when you're hungry and you're off to work, and you can just throw a handful down with some water and you're out the door. It's easy peasy. And chlorella, because it pulls out toxins and builds your immune system and helps repair your body, and your body goes through that when you're sleeping, we generally recommend that you take that before bed. You can take either one of them any time of day. You're going to need a minimum of 10 tablets. Again, they're very, very tiny. But we have NHL players that they take 75 spirulina before a game because they need lots of energy and focus on the ice. And then they take 75 of the chlorella after the game to pull out all the lactic acid. So there's no upper limit, but and for children, it's 1 or half a tablet per their age. So if they're 4, give them 1 or 2. Sure. But in fact, in Japan, when babies cannot digest mother's breast milk, this is the only thing that keeps them alive. And it's because the amino acid profile is virtually identical to mother's breast milk. So
yes.
That's pretty cool. Huh?
And Catharine mentioned she does a lot of speaking at conferences, and this is some video of her up on stage explaining how it works. And often you're speaking in front of a very educated,
very scientific community.
And do they, scientists are often skeptics. Do you get any challengers?
Well, I don't now because I call myself a citizen scientist because I did not have any science background at all. But I wanted to work with the scientific community, so I realized I needed to teach myself. So I've probably read about 4,000 articles in PubMed, which is a scientific library that used to only be available for universities, but now the public can go on there. And so I speak their language. I can speak to them in the terms that they understand and that they use. It's taken me 13 years to do that. And so I'm credible, and I'm getting more and more invitations to speak at the science community. But maybe one day somebody will give me an honorary PhD. but I invite anyone, I say anybody can be a citizen scientist because these days, we need to be proactive about our own health. You need to educate yourself about how your body works because we know how our cell phone works, we know sort of how our car works, but most people do not know how their body works. And so they're frightened. And when the wheels go off and you get a diagnosis of cancer or heart disease, it's shattering. And so what I enjoy helping people understand how their body works, because once you understand something, it's less frightening.
Yes.
And the more you know about your body, the more you will see why algae should be on every single person's countertop and taking it every single day. And my goal is to try to help people regain their health, regain their energy, and flatline maybe this terrible growth of chronic disease that we're experiencing.
And I don't think I've seen an evangelist for something as passionate as Catharine. She speaks at a lot of conferences, and we've got some pictures of her manning the booth.
That's Dr. Mark Hyman's son, by the way. That's Misha Hyman. So, and I've met him multiple times. There's a couple of my team at our booth. That's Dr. Killets. He has fertility clinics. He has like 12 fertility clinics. This is great for fertility as well because, first of all, it's good for your brain. We just did our first clinical trial because your brain has 2 million mitochondria per cell. It's the highest concentration of mitochondria. And there's a book that just came out called Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer, and there's a chiropractor. And they realize that all brain issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, depression, anxiety are all a mitochondria disease. And so if you can heal the mitochondria, you can protect yourself and reverse some of this damage. And spirulina has been proven to do that. And we just did our own clinical trial. And then the next highest concentration of mitochondria is in women's eggs. So we're working with Dr. Killets because a lot of infertility is because the mitochondria in the eggs are not healthy either.
Wow.
So we can again, it's just food,
Right.
but it's concentrated food. You have to remember, this is a gift to us. I haven't mentioned this, but algae was the first life on Earth 4 billion years ago. It was a cyanobacteria like spirulina. And the science shows that it eventually turned into our mitochondria. It's called endosymbiotic theory. So
let's talk a little bit
crazy, right?
let's talk a little bit more about brain health and mental wellness, because
Yes.
I think we've got a pandemic of anxiety and stress right now. How does this affect your mood and overall well-being?
Well, when the brain isn't functioning properly, it's hard. You get into repetitive thoughts, and they can be demobilizing. So there's different ways to help correct that. There's a company called BrainTab that has a device that helps you create new circuitry. There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joe Dispenza that helps people. He has great summits where he helps you meditate. But on a nutritional value, this is your answer, because this has the nutrients that your brain needs. For example, you've heard of amyloid plaque. People have Alzheimer's, they have amyloid plaque. Well, spirulina has been proven, the superoxide dismutase that's in there, to remove amyloid plaque. You also have probably heard of things called telomeres. They protect your DNA, and as you have damaged brain health, the telomeres shrink, and that exposes your DNA so it could get damaged, and then it replicates in a damaged form, so now you have more damaged brain cells. This stops the shrinking of the telomeres, so it protects the telomeres. Another thing is chlorella pulls out toxins. They've realized a lot of Alzheimer's and other brain issues are because of metals, heavy metals that have lodged in your brain. And so this clears out all those heavy metals. It's like giving your body a shower from the inside, or, think about having street cleaners in there, getting all the toxins out, right? So, and you get your beauty rest. That's why we say, just take this before bed. You're not doing anything. Let chlorella do all the heavy lifting. You've also heard of inflammation, and all that inflammation is occurring at the mitochondria level. So because this has these nutrients that can get into the mitochondria, stop the free radical damage, it reduces the inflammation, so your brain can start growing back healthy. These other things like meditation also help, but you need to work on all angles, and there is not a single food in the world that is more nutrient dense and healing to your brain than spirulina and chlorella algae. Wow. For sure.
Catherine, we've got a couple minutes left. Final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
Well, it's hard to change habits. I know that. And also, when you hear something that sounds too good to be true, you think, oh, this is just a fad. And I want people to know, algae isn't new. It's just new to you. It's been used daily in Asia for almost 75 years. It's as big as an agricultural crop there as the beef industry is here. The only reason you don't know about it is that it's not grown here, although I have plans to once we get bigger, and no one's told you about it. You know that it's a superfood and people put it in their smoothie, but there's so much more to learn, and it's so much more efficient to swallow them as tablets because you don't taste anything. If you don't like the taste of spirulina, if you put it in a smoothie, you're still tasting it. There's other powders, you're still and by the way, most of those other powders have spirulina and chlorella in them. But you have them in the tablet form, you can travel with them. We have little pouches that you can travel with. They never go bad. We technically put a 3-year expiry date on them, but unlike vegetables that can go bad after a couple of days, algae never goes bad. So it's proven, it's been used safely in other countries. It's just never been explained to you. So that's what I'm doing. That's what my team do. Everything's backed with science. We're endorsed by hundreds and thousands of doctors who sell it to their own patients. So I want you to know that this is, and ours is considered the highest quality because all of our nutrients are preserved because of the way we grow it and dry it. And if you go to some of those other retail channels and find a lesser quality, you'll need to take more to get the same effect. And also they just won't work because high heat kills a lot of the nutrients. So it's not new. It's going to be the United Nations says it's the answer to feeding the world. It is, and it's also the answer to feeding you. So and it's easy, absolutely effortless. Just open your mouth and swallow. Good to go.
Catherine, you've been an amazing guest. We're going to end with the website, which is ENERGYbits.com. The great Catharine Arnston. Thanks for coming on the show.
I like that. The great Catherine.
Catherine the Great. Okay, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.